Diep here with On the Chain. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody out there in crypto world. Hello, OTC family. I am flying solo today. I will be your pilot on this journey over the next few moments, minutes, and everything else. So we've got XRP. Let's face it, it's destined for greatness. And there's some major censorship going on. It seems that Forbes has censored a Rosalind Layton article. And the title of the article, Gary Gensler Resign. What's that all about? We're going to jump into that. Ripple has a new explainer video out about CBDCs. And there's a whole mess of other stuff. You guys ready to take this forward? Yeah, let's go.
Welcome to On the Chain.
So good morning, good afternoon, and wherever you're coming in from, guys, drop it in the chat. Drop the city, the country, the state, what you're famous for. If you're famous for anything, sometimes you're famous for something you don't want to be famous for. That's okay. Just simply admit that. And always, if you guys want more related content, XRP related content, blockchain, SEC updates, anything going on in the general crypto sphere, our heavy focus here is on XRP and Flare, the XRPL. It's a lot of what we talk about here, but we also loop in other stuff. We got some Ethereum news, some Bitcoin stuff going on today. So we do touch on those other things. So go ahead and subscribe, click that notification bell. And guess what? Yeah, you'll be notified. So I think the first story that I want to jump into today, and what's going on, Jim D, Hans Loaded, who's our producer here, is doing a marvelous job, and also people in the community as well. So I want to jump into this because this one's top of mind for me. We always talk about censorship and things that happen. There's always going to be some sort of there's always going to be somebody that doesn't like something that someone says. And, I saw this, I saw a Salman Rushdie quote today that say that if you can't speak, clearly, or you can't express yourself without offending somebody, what's the point? And, that didn't work out so well for him. Somebody attacked him not too long ago, a couple weeks ago. And, look, I mean, Discord is a healthy thing. I think it's good that we talk about things. I think it's always a good idea. We're never going to agree on everything, because there's going to be disagreement. There's going to be disagreement. That's going to happen. What's up, what rough Rican? Holy cow, I got tongue-tied on that one. Let's go up. What's going on, man? Just like clockwork. What's up, rough Rican? The True on the Chain channel. That's right. That's right. We do have, there is an imposter out there. And yeah, I'll probably play that a little bit later in the program. But yeah, we have our trademark attorney contacted. This isn't like the BitBoy thing where you're going to sue somebody because you said something you didn't like. This is actually somebody that is going to use our trademark name. Okay, and you trademark things for a reason. Jeff and I trademarked On the Chain because of an unpleasant experience that he went through when he was streaming solo, and he had his name streaming for about a year, and someone said, "Hey, buddy, I own the trademark on that, so cease and desist, and let's keep it all friendly." And he had to go through a rebrand and everything else. And it was shortly after that he and I had met and said, you know what, let's just do this together. We're very like-minded, and we kind of in some regards, and we both have different styles. Let's capitalize on that. Let's capitalize on the good. And once in a while, Jeff will disagree with me, just to kind of poke the bear once in a while. Chances are we're pretty much in lockstep almost the entire way. But let's jump into this right here. I wanted to pull this up, and thank you for that support, Rough Rican, and thank you for the True on the Chain channel. Right on, brother. Right on, right on, right on. And now, what are we going to do? We're going to jump into this. I want to throw this up here because, an odd thing happened. So going through show prep last night, looking through the articles, and the Rosalind Layton article came out a couple days ago. Basically, the title was probably about as good as you're going to get. Gary Gensler Resign. That was pretty much it, if memory serves correct. I click on it, I go out, and geez, where's the article? Like, I couldn't find the article anywhere. I said, well, this is weird. Like, how did this happen? Like, it's just completely gone. It's missing. So check this out. I'll show you what that looks like. Here it is right here. So I click on it and I go like, well, that's weird. I wasn't looking for an article about Chairman Powell. Geez, where's the article? If you see up here, oh, look at that. right up at the top here. You see, oh, we can't find the page you're looking for. Well, that's weird because if you look at the URL up here, it has Gary Gensler Resign in the URL. So they basically took it down. They censored it. Now, was this a result? Was this potentially a result of, let's say, the SEC coming after them and saying, hey, take the article down? Was this a result of Forbes themselves censoring it and saying, oh, a little bit too spicy? Because Rosalind Layton, you know, we have our champions and our heroes, you know, the Jim Deetons of the world, you know, did I say Jim? No, Johnny Deetons of the world. And of course, Jimmy Filan. I got those two. I made one attorney out of them. And then Jimmy Filan, who's always posting the latest updates, what's happening in the SEC Ripple case. We have Jeremy Hogan. There's a whole bunch of other folks in there. But Rosalind Layton has been really phenomenal when it comes to being on top of what's going on with the SEC. Very succinct, beautifully written articles when it comes to this. So, you know, the thought is here, like, what is going on? What was so sensitive in that article that either Forbes had to take it down, or maybe, and I'm not saying this happened, but maybe did the SEC strong arm them? Like, hey, this is defamation. You can't say this, because we're seeing a lot of times where somebody from somewhere, got to be careful here, will then say to a platform, hey, you can't say that. We don't like it. And then we talked about this a little bit in the intros. Like, you don't like something, something offends somebody. Look, I set somebody off not too long ago where they hammered me on Twitter. Then they came in the comments and they said they unsub. You can't win them all, man. You just can't. You do the best you can. I stick to my guns. I love to hear other people's their stories. And this really came down to an opinion about Hester Peirce. You know, I kind of did a turnaround on that myself. I was saying not too long ago, maybe a year plus ago, that maybe we shouldn't call her crypto mom. But when I really started realizing that she's the only one in the SEC fighting, putting forward actual framework, you know, the safe harbor, giving a company 2 years, was 3 years, then it came down to two to 3 years to decentralize, get everything, their house in order, and then have some checks along the way that they could say, hey, where are you? Where are you now? Where are you headed? Are you on track? What a beautiful thing. A lot of people out there just misunderstood what that meant. A lot of people thought, like, you're not, you know, if you're not after Hester Peirce to go after and bring down the syndicate, you know, the Ethereum Alliance and all this, and Bill Hinman and this, look, that's not her job. Her job on the inside, she's the only one left that I can tell, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, that's actually pro crypto. And you want to, and this happens a lot in crypto Twitter. You want to face smash, you want to throat punch the people, the very people who are attempting to make a difference and change it up a little bit. Look, I get the frustration. We're all frustrated, right? We're all frustrated. It's like, do we think we'd be here, you know, heading in the back half of 2022 with this SEC lawsuit still looming? And now we're hearing, you know, Johnny Deeton saying, like, well, maybe we'll get there in maybe March, April of 2023. Not stuff we want to hear, but I just don't believe we should be crushing somebody who's actually in it for the right reasons. And you could assert all kinds of things, but you don't even know. You know, we know on crypto Twitter, we know here, you know, on the chain, there's a lot of other great streamers out there, and putting their you know, the best foot forward and really exposing a lot of this. Okay, we're in the know. But to assume that everybody's in the know, I think there's only 100,000. I saw this. Who did I see talking about this the other day? I think it was Alex D Vlogs was talking about this in one of his videos. He was talking about the fact that there's a little over 100,000 people that have, and I don't know if the stat's right, something like that. If anything, it's less than 200,000 people in the entire world on the, you know, on the planet, the entire planet. We're talking about 7 billion plus people, and there's only a couple 100,000 people that know about XRP. But you expect that everyone's supposed to know about what's going on with Ethereum and you know, from 2014 to 2015, and the pseudo ICO that happened, and all the improprieties that went on there, and the backroom things. Great. I mean, a lot of people do know, but that doesn't mean everybody knows. So anyway, we're going to jump into this article because, yeah, we have it. Why is that? Why do we have this article? Simple, for amazing people in the community. And I wanted to put this up right here. This is Not Your Average Joe right here. And, you know, you're Not Your Average Joe is on top of this. He was all over it. Now, the first thing I did last night was I went to the Wayback Machine. I go like, yeah, I'll just lift this off the Wayback Machine. I go there. It's been erased from the Wayback Machine, but Not Your Average Joe at Quant Network Dev went in, snagged the article. I saw him tweet something about it last night. I DM'd him on Twitter and said, hey, man. He said, hey, I have the PDF. I saved it just in case something like what this happened. And this is what I love about this community, you know. And I said, hey, could you email it to me? I'd love to use it for, you know, tomorrow's show. He said, absolutely. And like a champion, man, he got it to me. I was super, super happy about that. And we're going to have that for you guys today. We're going to look at it. Just look at like, what is it in this article that it has everybody so frazzled, right? And who is it? Is it Forbes? You know, Forbes had to approve to put it up. It was live. I think it went live maybe Wednesday, Thursday. It was definitely after the show, I believe, our Wednesday show. So maybe it could have been. I don't remember the actual published day. We'll look at that. We'll look at that here. But he pulled it off the Wayback Machine. And this is fantastic. So we're going to take a look at this right here. It was on August 25th. It was published at 8:57, or at least this is when he got it. Yeah, at 8:57 a.m. That's right. That's right. Yeah, this is what it was right here. So 24-hour crypto tweeted about 100,000 XRP holders. Thank you for that, Hans. Appreciate it. Yeah, think about that. Think about the elite club you're in of people who are in the know, who understand about XRP. 100,000 XRP users. Think about that. Holders, I should say. 100,000. Now, if somebody can do the math, maybe Hans, you can do this, but if somebody could do the math, break that down. The population's over 7 billion, I believe. 7 billion and change, whatever it looks like. But let's just call it 7 billion. If you take 100,000 into 7 billion, and now you expect everybody in the world to know what's going on with the SEC, with Bill Hinman, listen, you can even take that 100,000 and slim it down even further, because that's what we're talking about there. So if you guys want to toss that in there, what that stat looks like, I'd love to see that as well. And we're going to throw this up here. Let's go talk about this. So this is the one that Not Your Average Joe pulled down. Thank you for that, man. And we're going to jump into this right here. So here it is. He sent me the PDF, grabbed it. And very simple headline: Gary Gensler resign. Okay, not a lot. Pretty much tells you what the article's about. There's not a lot of guesswork going on here. Published on August 25th, 2022. And there he is, man of the hour, Gary Gensler, showing a big old photo of him up there. And the article, and here you can see right here, I even went to check. Let's see, cancel that for a second. I even went and checked on, this is the Wayback Machine. This was what was the actual URL. The Not Your Average Joe pulled it on, gone. And I tried to find it last night in the Wayback Machine. And I was wondering, how did he pull down the original article? But he actually did pull it off before it was erased from the Wayback Machine. Now, usually when this happens, this level of censorship, there's a little bit more going on, because you just don't erase stuff from the Wayback Machine. There's got to be something else going on. And I'm not, right now it's just guesswork. I don't know for sure. But generally, I don't believe Forbes would have said, hey, back to the Wayback Machine, you guys got to scrub this from your database. So it's a fantastic article. And again, Rosalind Layton, one of our favorites here down the chain. She goes on to say the recession and the specter of a long, painful recovery have plunged U.S. financial markets, securities, and exchange commission chairman Gary Gensler could do something about it. But he seems not to pay attention, let alone care. So far, anybody have any issues with this? Seems kind of spot on, doesn't it? Instead, he doubles down on distortions, which twerk the market in the first place, opaque, inconsistent, and arbitrary practices. See, this is what I love about Rosalind Layton. Those three things right there succinctly just about sum up Gary Gensler and the SEC. Opaque, anything but transparent, inconsistent, all over the board. Let's go after Ripple, but let's just let other things that obviously were pseudo ICO, such as an Ethereum, that's cool, let them slide. And then come out and say something to the effect of, well, Bitcoin, I mean, let's face it, Bitcoin, it's not a security. Well, interesting. Why? Because we don't know. We can't actually track down that person to drag him into a hearing or drag him in to see the SEC, right? Is that maybe what's going on there? And finally, these arbitrary policies. Yeah, arbitrary is absolutely pretty much nails it. So the next part of this article talks about the policy to serve SEC insiders, not the rule of law. So Gensler's SEC demands complex, bewildering disclosures on how financial assets affect the weather. And again, this came out in a hearing last year where they wanted to start talking about. This is the one where we had Rep. Senator Kennedy in there talking about who's your daddy. He asked Gary Gensler point blank, "Hey, are you their daddy?" And he's like, "No, I'm not. I'm not their daddy." Then why are you telling? Then why are you laying down these kind of things? Why are you acting like somebody's daddy? So he pretty much nailed them. And of course, Gensler was a mumble mouth. He didn't know what to say there. And it continues to say, develops discriminatory rules without procedure and input, applies regulation, not by rule of law, but by caprice. He rejects constitutional checks and balances, bristling at congressional oversight, which dares to question new SEC environmental, social, and governance, better known as ESG. And, the more I start reading into ESG, it seems like a shakedown. You want this compliance in place. All these companies are scrambling. But if you look at some of the top offenders in this category, they're ESG certified. Let's keep it at that. Let's not go into details here. Let's just keep it very broad right there. And some of the biggest offenders, and this is kind of true of almost everything. The people who are screaming the loudest about something usually are the biggest offenders with that something, right? And so he weaponizes the SEC's war on crypto by claiming that every digital asset, it's probably a security. The SEC has not developed forthright policy on cryptocurrency. Congress has not instructed it to do so, and commissioners have never voted on position. But Gensler nonetheless urges startups to come in and talk to us. Come on in. Go ahead, talk to us. Get registered. The agency's Freedom of Information Act, the FOIA office, flippantly rejects investors' good faith requests for clarity and information. And this is something we've seen too. Now, I take a little bit of kind of disagree a little bit with this because the SEC will, it's not really their job. And she kind of alludes to it here that the SEC has not developed any forthright policy on crypto because Congress has not instructed it to do so. And, we just saw a recent ruling, come down from the Supreme Court of the U.S. here, where you had Virginia going after a regulatory body and saying that you cannot really dictate to say like, hey, good luck. You guys go off and kind of create the rules. And that was what was struck down. Virginia fought back. I think it was Virginia. And, you had a state here fighting back. And, the ruling came down and said, hey, no, this only Congress can make legislation. You can't instruct somebody to take the ball and run with it. But the overall point here is well taken. The bottom line is that they're not even putting anything forth. And, a lot of people were criticizing Hester Peirce. And the reason they were criticizing her was like, well, nobody's ever adopted the safe harbor. No one's actually said like, hey, let's do something with that. Well, again, for her to put something forward and say, look, let's do this. Here's a framework. Now, the SEC potentially could have said like, followed it to the point of like, okay, great. We'll just keep an eye on the people. You got started. It's a framework. And if you're not decentralized, let's say 3 years, fair enough, fair enough. But no, they just didn't do that at all. And some of the bills that were picked up do include some of that idea and framework actually in there. So if you go in the chat, look, Key Largo's in the house. There he is. What's up, Matthew? Good to see you in here today. It's always great to see people, my Florida people, man. I'm just up the road from you, a little bit north there. So here's an interesting comment. Stuart Angus says, we know Satoshi was a group of 4 people. They were interviewed by at least one Homeland Security agent because Homeland Security wanted to know what Bitcoin was and how it worked. Yeah, there's something around that too that I've come across myself. A lot of people have alleged that maybe it's the PayPal mafia. Is it, and if the government's looking to see who that might potentially be, interesting. So, To continue on, Rosalind goes on to say that he weaponizes, this is Gary Gensler, the SEC's war on crypto. We already talked about that. See, here he goes. So Gensler thumbs his nose at Congress and the judiciary alike. SEC lawyers refuse to comply with the court orders and produce evidence on SEC leaders' views, which are material to the SEC v. Ripple Labs, a $1.3 billion lawsuit against an enterprise blockchain company located in San Francisco, U.S., over here in California. Magistrate Judge Sarah Netburn repeatedly ordered documents from the SEC William Hinman's now infamous 2018 speech on crypto. Her July opinion and order blasted the agency for hypocrisy and behavior which suggests that the SEC is adopting its litigation positions to further its desired goal and not out of faithful allegiance to the law. Now, let's just talk about this for a little bit. I know I'm going to make this a little bigger here. Let's talk about this right here because this is, whoa, let's put it on the side there. There we go. This right here is absolutely incredible because, you know, when Judge Netburn hammered, not just multiple times, that she has said, produce, produce, produce. But this line right here is pretty much phenomenal. She suggested the SEC is adopting its litigation positions to further its goal, not its faithful allegiance to the actual law. This is incredible. This is and spot on, by the way. So yeah, they're more interested in suing a company and getting their desired effect of winning versus the allegiance to the law, which says, hey, you know, it's murky. There's not a lot of clarity around this, but yeah, okay, soldier on. Goes on to say over here, welcome to the party, pal. Of course, pal's not in there, but that's from Bruce Willis and Die Hard. Yeah, welcome. You ever seen that meme out there too? Welcome to the party, pal. So welcome to the party. SEC's pattern of regulation by enforcement has obliterated the hope of U.S. leadership in financial innovation in cryptocurrency and opportunities for new investors. The SEC's 2-year litigation against Ripple has spooked innovators, has discredited the agency in the eyes of consumers and investors, whom it's by law supposed to protect. Great. Another fantastic point. We're here. The SEC's one of their main tenets, other than capital formations and some others, their main tenet is to protect the investors. And it looks like they're doing everything but protect the investors, protect Wall Street, protect all these other outside forces, but not actually you. No, we're not going to do that. That's a little bit too much. We're not going to get into that. But go ahead and protect everything else. But the last part of it, the investor, I don't know. We just never really get around to it. You know, and John Deaton, had gone on Fox Business, which you have that video as well, went on Fox Business and talked about just that very point. So continuing on here, the SEC's increasingly stupefying arguments about Ripple's digital asset XRP have departed even from the broad discretion allowed by the 1933 Securities Act or the Supreme Court's 1946 Howey decision. Subsequent SEC enforcements confirmed that Gensler's apathy to tokens, which goes against legal precedent and technological neutrality. An SEC v. Library, the agency took on a New Hampshire-based blockchain developer. Gensler's lawyers said essentially that if a person buys a token on the secondary market for speculative purposes, then every one of those tokens is an investment contract in a company, and that the rest of the holders may never have heard of. Nothing else matters. And to sounds a little bit like Metallica there. Nothing else matters. So this is exactly what the issue is here. I mean, it's beyond, but that's what I love about Rosalind Leighton. Just hammers. Gensler attempting to resurrect his once darling profile. And that's debatable, Rosalind. I don't know if he had a darling profile. He was the chair of the CFTC. Back then, nobody really cared. And back then, I don't remember the CFTC, which regulates commodities. I don't remember them going after, at least when he was tenured there, I don't remember actually going after any crypto projects. But let's just okay, give the benefit of the doubt. His once darling profile offered a Wall Street Journal op-ed that the SEC treats crypto like the rest of the capital markets, The laws protect investors, even with new technologies. And at its toughest, the SEC is merely regulating risky crypto lending products. His statement would be true if the SEC had a simple set of rules for all assets, but it does not. For the SEC to regulate cryptocurrency lawfully, Congress must instruct the SEC to do so, and the SEC would then conduct due process inquiry, rulemaking, and finally, a commission vote. Gensler's piece was apparent face-saving from a blistering takedown of his cryptocurrency confusion by law professor J.W. Verrett earlier in the same medium. Of course, I would also argue that John Deaton had a massive takedown op-ed that came out right before that, and maybe that was what really prompted Gensler to get his minions to pen an article. And I wonder if they passed that around in emails and had everybody inside the SEC take a look at it. So let's take a look. She writes, the new Howey test. Gensler did further subterfuge the 2021 Aspen Security Forum by falsely claiming that Howey is a 3-part test, when in fact it is 4. This rewrite of history conveniently eliminates Howey's critical 4th prong of investment contract, which, if included, contradicts the SEC's invented legal theory in Ripple and library cases. The SEC under the Gensler disrespects Congress and the courts and imperils investors and innovators. Gensler is leading himself and the SEC into ruin. And I applaud that, by the way. He should resign now to avoid further damage. Okay, that's great if you want to save face on the SEC. I do not want the SEC saving any face. I say you run it into the ground, and it might be the best way to go, right? Sun Tzu famously said, never interrupt your enemies when they're in the process of destroying themselves. I love that quote because sometimes people destroy themselves on their own. Army, battle, you can sit back and kind of watch it happen. And what we're witnessing here, although none of us are happy about it, we are witnessing the self-destruction of the SEC pretty good. And we see a lot of government agencies, at least in the United States, probably worldwide, that are doing a very good job of destroying themselves. I mean, we can look to the Netherlands. We can see what's going on there. We can see seizure of the farmland by the government is reminiscent of another period in time, reminiscent of things that happened in other countries. So anyway, that was phenomenal. What's up? Shurdan, what's up? Amazing. Old Mediterranean. Yeah, Shurdan would get back from a great trip. Good to see that. Yeah, I need a good trip myself. I really, really could use a good trip. Just looking through the comments here. Good morning, gentle dudes. Good morning, gentle dudes, says Justin Harrison. What's up, Justin? Gentle dudes. I like that, man. Gentle dudes. That's a good one. Might have to adopt that one. What's up, gentle dudes? I like that. Justin, good to see you here as well. And let me close this one up here. But I just, and a big shout out to Not Your Average Joe at Quant Network Dev for doing that. Always people looking out in the XRP community for the rest of us. And for that, I applaud. And I wanted to, let's pull this up here. So this is interesting too. So Bull Diep, another great member of the community here. I want to throw this up here. Let's see.
The XRP.
Hang on a second. I don't want to get to that quite yet. Here we go right here. So this is Bull Diep. The other day we tried to pull this up. You know, Binance has a way to earn crypto by learning about a couple different projects. One of those projects was XRP, the XRPL. And I know I can't access it because I'm in the US. And obviously I'd have to go through. Anyway, the other night when I tried to pull it up and Jeff and I tried to look at it, we were unable to pull that up. And Bull Diep says, great video from Binance Academy and the XRP ledger. Key points. XRPL, the first major blockchain that is certifiably counter neutral. Use cases are payments, tokenization, DeFi. Been functioning since 2012. Yeah, we're 10 plus years into this. And fully decentralized, no single point of failure. And we do have that video, which let's throw that up right there. Let's throw it up here.
Is stable, scalable.
There we go.
The XRPL is stable, scalable, fast, and energy efficient. It has continuously confirmed transactions since its deployment in 2012, while supporting more than 1,500 transactions per second and transaction speeds of 3 to 5 seconds. Transactions are cheap. The average transaction cost on the XRPL is less than a fraction of a penny. The XRPL is friendly to our planet. It is the first major blockchain to be certifiably carbon neutral. The network uses a federated consensus protocol to confirm transactions in which designated independent servers, known as validators, must come to an agreement on the order and outcome of XRP transactions. All verified transactions are processed without a single point of failure, as no single participant can decide which transactions take priority. The cryptocurrency native to the XRP ledger is XRP, a neutral bridge asset that is optimized for payments anywhere. With billions of XRP traded daily, XRP functions as a medium of exchange to facilitate cross-border payments quickly, cheaply, and sustainably. It can also be used to transact on XRP Ledger's decentralized exchange, DEX, or engage with tokenized assets. The main applications of the XRP Ledger are payments. Using the XRP Ledger, assets can be moved across the world, enabling near-instant money transfers for remittances, treasury payments, payrolls, and other cross-border payments. Tokenization. The XRP Ledger supports the tokenization of any asset, from fungible tokens, stablecoins, NFTs, and central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. As of May 2022, more than 5,400 currencies have been issued and traded on the XRPL. DeFi. Financial products and services can be accessed via XRP Ledger's DEX. The DEX is native to the protocol and uses a central limit order book model to trade digital assets. Users can access the DEX through a variety of order book interfaces to trade directly on the XRP Ledger. Thanks to its global developer community, the XRP Ledger's open-source platform is suitable for C++, Java, JavaScript, and Python developers seeking an environment to build new projects or use cases. The XRP Ledger offers great flexibility for developers to create use cases across tokenization, settlement. The XRPL is stable.
Yeah, I believe that was all there was right there. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't the whole thing. But anyway, you can see that there's a lot of spot on. A lot of people have been cheering about this because you know what usually happens. A lot of times they don't really get it right. Somebody will do something and it's not quite exactly what people expected, or they get something wrong. Or you can actually go on a lot of, like, let's say exchange crypto trade pubs, and you go look at the news outlets that cover crypto, and you look at, they'll do a piece on the XRPL and they'll have just factually incorrect data there, which is interesting. We have Obby Services. Good morning, my friends. What's going on? How is everybody at? Let's see. What else do we have here? I'm looking through the comments here. Okay, looking through a little bit of the comments here. What do I see? What do I see? All right, I want to jump into this next one right here. This here, we talk about people in the community all the time that are fantastic, or at least have a fantastic take or opinion. And this is one of them right here. Look at this right here. So, Jake Chervinsky, I saw a live stream the other day with him. He was doing a live stream. I don't even think there were 100 people on it. And it was a channel that has like 150,000 subs or 200,000 subs. And I thought, that's odd. A live stream should be getting a lot more. And he's an attorney, and he's the head of policy over at the Blockchain Association. And he's he loves Ethereum and Bitcoin, and that's fine. But again, if you're with the Blockchain Association, very much like Gensler, and you're supposed to protect all investors, you should be looking out for all blockchain and projects out there. They seem to have missed the outrage on the Ripple v. SEC sort of case right here. It seems to be a little bit of a missing. Let me throw myself back over here. There we go. Here we go. So let's look at this tweet here. Jake Chervinsky said, the SEC claims to be a cop on the beat for crypto. It should be, exclamation mark. But unfortunately, as Diep Chervinsky put it, there are more archaeologists than detectives. They wait until things go wrong and then they show up to dig for details. Ha ha ha. That's me putting the ha ha in there. Case in point, ignoring Celsius but going after BlockFi. Case in point, ignoring Ethereum but going after Ripple. The Ethereum Foundation but going after Ripple. Case in point. That's not the case in point that he makes. That's the whole thing. And who jumps in right here? Santiago Velez, who is another amazing member of our XRP community. He says, in the face of pumping up meme stocks, manipulated paper markets, ETF stonewalls and revolving doors, it's difficult to make the case that the SEC charter of protecting investors stands. It's about access, power, a gateway for deciding who gets in to sell what in what market, full stop. Not too dissimilar to what we were just talking about, right? That's what it really comes down to. Not about protecting the investor, which is their main tenet, not at all. It comes down to this, about access, about power. It's a gateway for deciding who gets to sell in what market, full stop. That pretty much about sums it up when we think about the actual, when we think about the actual, it's a little missing for words here, but the SEC itself seems to favor other people. And again, you got to be careful how you say that, but it seems to not favor the investor as much as others in the space. And that seems to be a pretty big missing. And then so saw this too. This one was, let me see if I can find it. So, David Schwartz took a fall, massive fall, and he put this up. And yeah, I mean, you guys don't want to see this, but he tweeted this obscure, and I was like more interested in how bitmapped the actual image looked, like there's something obscure in the sides right here. Let's toss this up there right there. So he put this out there. He said he fell off a rock wall while repairing a fence. It hurts, but he's fine. He's fine. And look at that. I don't know what's going on with that. Looks like a big old scrape. I'm more interested in the pixelization, or at least what was covered up on the side. I don't know what that's all about. I don't know. It just seems pretty weird. Now, if you think about this, it kind of almost looks like, it's not reading this too much, but the first thing I thought about is like, it kind of looks like a chart a little bit over here, a little bit of bloody over here on the side. But if you look, kind of like, kind of up, level off, kind of jumps up, and look, just like a hockey stick, zoom, it goes up to the top. Am I reading into it too much? Hell yeah, I am. But this is what the market looks like today. Bloody. This on the right side with the little step right here is what the market's going to look like when we start seeing some action. We see another bull run, we're going to get this. And that was kind of, only because it looked like that to me. And I was like, yeah, it's kind of a weird, but the thing about David Schwartz, he will tweet some obscure things from time to time, which we will see. And yeah, that happens. That happens a little bit. I don't know what's going on here, but no more sugar. That's what Adrock says. Adrock, yeah, no more sugar. Izzy says, yeah, what investor protection? Yeah, where is the investor protection? Seems to be a little bit on the lacking side. Absolutely. I don't know. So there you go right there. Adrock said, got his XRP, got their XRP, I should say, at 16 cents. And done waiting 6 years later. Yeah, sometimes you have to wait. But, a regular stock, you might 2, 3, 4, 5, 6x. The chances are with crypto doing 10, 20, 40, 100x is not unheard of. And it happens pretty often. And almost all the time. I want to jump into this next one here. It's a pretty good tweet thread right here. Let's take a look at this. Let's get into a little bit of Flare news right here. So Flare, one of the most exciting projects to come along in a long time. It has since grown immensely since its inception, as we've covered a bunch of tweets in recent days and weeks. This is from Ash W. He's at @banker_DeFi. And he said, well, some entitle that Flare claimants obsess over tokens, put a little sad emoji, crying emoji. Here's a concise summary of sequential events that Flare citizens, sunny emoji, should keep in mind. Here's a thread in a timeline. Let me put this in reader here, make it a little bit easier. There we go. So first of all, Flare, number one, Flare network leaves observation mode under 33% validation from Flare team equals what? Decentralized. 2, receive all 15% Flare claim and or purchase Flare from exchanges. 3, wrap and delegate Flare for FTSO rewards, compound every 3.5 days. Incredible. And 166% of the 15% claim tokens were released. FIP number 1 notice period announced. The voting power, VP, taken from a random block in the past to vote on FIP 01. We covered this the other day. Assuming the FIP 01 passes, and again, this was this was what was put out because the projects changed. And one of the ideas of that had to do with people not relying on centralized exchanges for their tokens. 3 random snapshots of VP of the voting power taken per month to allocate your portion of the delegation pool, which is roughly around 673 million a month. Continue wrapping all Flare to increase the voting power for any random snapshots that may come from dApps or any other incentive drops. For example, this one here is Pango Index, which is a DEX on Avalanche. And I lost it. There we go. And participate on future governance proposals. That's Flare / Songbird as a prediction market for additional rewards on winning proposals. The F assets version 1.0 goes live for self-minting F assets. Earn some rewards from cross-chain incentive pool. That's about 25 million for the first a month for the first month, 50 million a month for the 12th month, according to some of the numbers that he put together. And then simultaneously using Flare to provide liquidity to decentralized exchanges to use as collateral for self-minting F assets, crowdfund dApps for protocol utility tokens. This is massive. This is incredible. And we're a part of it. I mean, most of us are a part of it. And if you're not, you can get in on it. The FITSO providers capping at 2.5% with comparable reward rates may need to offer additional incentives to community to remain competitive. Interesting. Layer cake bridges built to connect the top 50 smart contract chains. Think about this. The top 50 smart contract chains. Obviously Ethereum would be one of them, but you think of the layer cake as this massive bridge that goes to every smart contract. So that is all part of the Flare ecosystem. And other community devs can also use Flare's single coherent stack to build fully cross-chain dApps with layer cake assets rewarded Flare from the CCI pool. Again, just an incredible project. So deep, so full. Delegation pool incentive, outputting an increasing percentage of Flare to other communities that wrapped and delegated their Flare rewards from the CCI pool. Non-airdrop Flare holders increasing their stake in the network. Those are the folks outside that, outside the XRP community, or the people who were in on the snapshot, which I think is coming up on 2 years ago. I think it was December of 2020. I want to say December 12th, maybe. Is that it? That's the number. That's the date that sticks in my head anyway. But it was December of 2020. So those are people outside of the airdrop that will increase their stake in the network. So these are other developments to occur. Songbird Flare Bridge will be built. Double stake connector. Songbird for lower house of bicameral governance system. Relay service of FITSO prices to other chains. Revenue model for relay operators. Layer cake assets as collateral for the F asset system, which is awesome too. I mean, just having layer cake assets, potentially having an Ethereum or Avalanche or another asset out there as collateral for an F asset, right? Where you can also earn rewards and foundational grants. A VC fund to support dApp builders using Flare's tech suite. So you're incentivizing developers to sort of build on Flare. Cross-chain partnerships. Would love to see, he has this in parentheses, I would love to see some more DeFi names like Aave and Compound in there. Decentralized stablecoin issued on Flare using a basket of yield-bearing decentralized assets as collateral. Yeah, pretty incredible. Pretty incredible. That's why I'm super excited about Flare. And I think that, Flare hasn't really hit. And I love this whole positioning of Flare. Yes, okay, it started out as a single focused on the community, XRP community. But in what Flare started out as and where it is today, it's like if you would compare it to your block, where you live, that little block of real estate versus the entire city, and then branching out from there and having these connectors into other cities, and having those other cities be in that layer cake that has those bridges to bring other assets in. Started out as a block of real estate, and it just went city, and it just expanded to towns, and it just expanded out from there. So It's absolutely just a massive undertaking. I couldn't be happier about that. And for some reason, I just love to see stories like this, only because they make me laugh a little bit. But look at this here. We have Jack Dorsey, Vitalik Buterin have been squabbling for months over whether Bitcoin or Ethereum is better. Here's how their headbutting began. And of course, Vitalik Buterin, he is the founder, one of the founders, co-founders of Ethereum. And of course, Jack Dorsey, who's been a longtime Bitcoin advocate, and he's the former CEO of Twitter. And so Jack Dorsey, two of the world's most prominent, and Vitalik, prominent champions. That doesn't mean to see eye to eye. Twitter co-founder regularly voices ideas of the class of Buterin, the 28-year-old co-founder of Ethereum blockchain and native coin Ether. Dorsey, a longtime Bitcoin maximalist who has a Bitcoin clock lying around his house, believes that digital assets the one and only crypto to save the world. We talk about this often. It's like, yeah, this is the one. And, a lot of people have very, very strong opinions in XRP, quant, other projects as well. They have strong opinions about it. Great. But this whole thing that one's going to save the world, there can be only one, is just about as silly as we talk about this in the stock market. There can be only one stock. It has to be Amazon or Apple or, whatever you pick your favorite flavor. And when you put it like that, you're like, yeah, that sounds a little bit ridiculous. But again, these are the thoughts of people. Dorsey, a long time. So conflict will also be there. Buterin thinks that Bitcoin could be left behind. Okay. Where is it? And now it's a Bitcoin or nothing for Dorsey. And quite honestly, all of this, it's just more of a distraction. Sitting there, two people sitting there squabbling about which one's better. I mean, and honestly, why would you waste your energy on something like this? It just seems like a incredible waste of time to me. Anyway, I feel like, who would actually spend the time? And then Simon K says all the ISO coins piss him off, XRP, XDC, XLM, because they should be huge due to their utility. Yeah, and I think that, as we talked about, just a small, if you think there's only 100,000 plus people who hold XRP, maybe a smaller amount with XDC, maybe a similar amount with XLM, and these tokens that actually have real world utility, that are solving real problems, it takes time. You're not gonna change an ecosystem overnight. But when we see this raging inflation around the world, the way we've seen it, we've seen a lot of people saying, well, let's go to something a little more deflationary, like crypto, and let's go ahead and hedge our bet, because our fiat currency is losing its value. The best that could happen is some of that value could come back, but a lot of it's lost forever. And people say, well, if I'd invested in Bitcoin and it was hovering at the 22,000 mark and it took another dip to 20,000. Okay, fair enough. But at some point, is your fiat currency going to return to its buying power of the 1970s? Is it going to go back to the buying power of the 1950s? Is it? Probably not. However, you make an investment, let's say, in XDC or in this new Flare ecosystem with Flare, or even if you hold Songbird, your chances and opportunity are far greater and far outweigh anything the fiat has to offer. And in the U.S., when we're taken off the gold standard in 1971 by President Nixon, it was basically pitched to the public, and the public was just too busy, just coming out of the 60s, not really paying attention. They're like, hey, there's a lot of gold speculators out there. Yeah, so what? There's a lot of speculation. I mean, this is the actual reason that they use for taking the United States off the gold standard, right? That $1 US was equal to the same, was backed by gold, right? Their excuse was there's a lot of speculators out there. So temporarily, language absolutely used, temporarily we're going to have to take us off the gold standard. And then we saw the petrodollar come into play. And then they went over to Saudi Arabia and made a little deal and said that all oil, petrol will be purchased with the US dollar. And some backroom deals were made. And then then the US dollar was then basically forced into usage because everybody had to use it. And we saw massive inflation raging in the 70s. And we saw homes here turn from 2 people working, or at least one person working, into a must that, mom and dad both had to work, where traditionally it was just one or the other for many, many years. And that would suffice because you could buy a house for $20,000. You bought a house for $20,000 and you're like, okay, you save for it. You put down your 20%. You bought a house, you got a mortgage, and you paid your mortgage. You got a 30-year loan, you got a 20-year loan, whatever it looks like. You bought a car. A lot of times back then you bought a car with cash. You had buying power. Buy a car for, a couple $1,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. So what happened back then? Well, a little bit of tomfoolery went on because people started seeing, wow, my wages are increasing, because mass inflation was happening. The difference back then was people's wages were actually going up. Wages were going up. They're like, this is fantastic. Look at my mortgage. I only have a $20,000 mortgage. And look at this. In a few years, I bought my house in the early 70s, late 60s. Now we're turning we're going in the late 70s, early 80s. My house is worth, I bought it for $20,000. Now it's worth $42,000. This is fantastic. Turns out it wasn't fantastic. It made people feel good. This is what we always have to caution ourselves about, that feel good. Yeah, I feel good. It looks good. Freebies. Yeah, the government's looking out for us. The same way as the SEC is looking out for investors. The government is supposedly looking out for you. Although I always question that if they're actually looking out for us. But they were looking out for us, and guess what was happening? And now a car was double. Wait a minute, but my wages went up, but everything else is going up. But it's awesome because now my house is worth double, 2.5 times of what I actually purchased it for. I could actually sell my car that I bought with cash, and it's actually worth 1.5 times what I paid for it. This is fantastic. And this is what we have to sort of keep our eye out on, because this is the kind of thinking that puts us in a very, very bad spot and ultimately prevents us from seeing what's really happening. And that's kind of where we end up today. I want to throw, and we talked a little bit about the whole Bitcoin, the BitBoy saga. And I wanted to jump into this because actually, let me pull this up real quick, because this is something that Jeff and I joked about the other night. Let me see if I have, do I have it? Let me see. And it drives me crazy when I can't find it. Man, I had it in Jeff and I have a common keep that we throw things into. And I cannot find it for some reason. Wow. Here it is. Here it is. Yeah, because I don't want to find this, because this is something Jeff and I were goofing around the other night. We were basically saying that that this lawsuit that that BitBoy had waged on atozy, at atozy. Look at this right here. So he said that so atozy said that he talked to Kobe, and this is somebody he knows. He said he's letting me use a little of his donation to pay for gas fees, because one of the things that Jeff and I said was, if the lawsuit's over, he's going to have to go. He said he was going to refund everything, but now he's got to come out of pocket to be able to pay the gas fees to return the Ethereum. Because he raised, I think, 300,000 plus. I think 60,000 of that was on GoFundMe, which is probably mostly fiat. But the other 250,000 was because he tweeted out his wallet for both Ethereum and Bitcoin. And I'm imagining that he probably got a pretty good solid amount of Ethereum, because in order to go ahead and return it, he's got massive gas fees. So he's like, hey, special kind thanks to this legend, Kobe, for letting him use a little bit of his donation to pay the actual gas fees on that, which is, I mean, it's bound to happen, right? And this has happened with the, if you guys remember the Constitution DAO, they had to refund because they didn't win. And they ran into a similar problem where they had all this Ethereum and they went out of pocket and they had enormous gas fees. So, and then atozy put this one out. It's since been resolved, but let's look through the timeline here. He said, bad news, BitBoy situation not over. Received this from my lawyer just now. Hey, Case has not been dismissed, and his lawyers yesterday filed a return of service establishing the date on which your answer must be filed. So either he lied about when he said the case was going to be dismissed, or the lawyers aren't listening to him. I'm thinking maybe the former. But of course, Ben Armstrong, you know him as BitBoyCrypto. He said, hey, speaking with the lawyer today, and he was basically commenting on atozy's about the bad news tweet. Speaking with the lawyer today will be officially dropped on lawyer by end of next week. As soon as it's done, I'll let everyone know. It's a process. So yeah, it's over. Just need paperwork to be done to wrap it up. Now, what's odd about this whole thing is what's the deal? Why does it have to be? Why was he waiting next week and this and that? You just call your attorney and say, drop it, man. File the paperwork right now. Let's put an end to this puppy, because this really backfired big time. And BitBoy's his basic excuse was on this whole thing was it wasn't supposed to be public. Look, you go after somebody for a video they put out 9 months ago where they called you out for endorsing a project that didn't fare so well, and you didn't like the names they called you. I mean, so had it not gone public, is he alleging that none of this would have happened? That you would have just continued to go ahead and sue this, atozy? It doesn't make much sense. You look at atozy is crushing it on YouTube as well. Atozy's got, Jeff and I looked at some of the videos the other day, 100,000 views, 900,000 views, 600,000 views, just crushing it. So I don't know, maybe some sour grapes there. Who knows? And I mean, who really cares? I mean, people call us out all the time, like, Chip is this and Jeff's that, and I disagree with your opinion. That's fine. Listen, you can't make everybody happy. It's never going to happen. There's always going to be somebody that is going to have an issue. What's this one right here? Kelly says, hey, why has Coinbase removed XRP completely? What do you mean completely, Kelly? I'm not sure what you mean by completely. Does that mean if you were holding XRP over there, has that been removed as well, or you have to move it to a private wallet? I'm not exactly sure. I've not used that exchange anytime recently, so you have to clarify that a little bit. Okay, so here it is right there. Okay, so I see what you're saying. You're saying the price cannot even be found on Coinbase app right now. Yeah, you got to remember that with Coinbase, it's a public company, and who oversees that? The SEC. So to me, maybe their attorney said, look, I know you're not letting anybody purchase XRP on the platform, but why don't we just wipe any mention of XRP? And I don't know for sure, but what I can say is that it's a possibility that this is probably the case. Hard to know for sure, but generally speaking, attorneys are very risk adverse, and attorneys want the best for their clients. And it might be internal counsel, it might be something else, but that's good to bring it to the attention. I wasn't sure about things. I haven't heard about that. So maybe too much going on with the price, maybe a volume correction because it was there yesterday. Interesting. Yeah, we'll have to dig into that a little bit more. So J5 or JS says, I don't get the Elon and Dorsey discussion. Are you going to argue that XRP is the best asset? Yeah, I mean, wait, Elon, do you mean Elon or Buterin? Maybe Elon too, but so everyone's like, every time he tweets about Dogecoin rises, goes up. And look, the funny part about Dogecoin is getting utility. So we talked about this. Someone had mentioned this earlier. We talked about utility. Someone was mentioning in the chat, XRP, XTC, XLM having utility. Why isn't the price reflecting the utility? Now we have Doge, which will be able to be used in the Flare ecosystem. So, it has a utility, which is incredible. So anyway, but that's really all the time we have to get together. Guys, go ahead and like, subscribe, click that notification bell if you want more XRP related content, musings here by Jeff and myself. We'll be back again tomorrow night, Sunday night, 8 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. And you guys can figure it out. Just type in New York time or Miami time. And if I know a lot of you are outside the US. So if you're like, I don't know what time that is. Yeah, you can just put in 8 p.m. or that's probably the easiest way to do it. And you can find out what time we actually go live near you. And also, too, be posting this weekend. We have a really cool project up Wednesday night. excited about it. It's a cool project on the XRPL. It's somebody you guys know in the ecosystem. Really excited to have 2 of the co-founders on here for that project. So we will be bringing you another really awesome interview with a project that Jeff and I think happen to be really, really cool. And we like things, especially projects that are built around the XRPL, showcasing, exactly what's possible there. So anyway, if you guys have a great rest of your weekend. Stay safe out there. Always dig down. Do a check on stuff. Don't always believe what you hear. Sometimes that 48-hour rule always holds true. Give it 48 hours. Is it still true? Let a little time to pass. And it's always interesting how, somebody walked that back. And sometimes it looks like censorship. But don't worry, there's always people out there that will grab it. And here, you can always count on us to bring you the best as we see fit. That's all I have. Guys, we will see you on the next one. I will say from Jeff and I, chip out. See you guys.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.